So it was a very, what is the background, what is the circumstance? The background that we are seeing is we are in Ayodhya Kanda, the second segment in Ramayana, where initially Rama was to be coronated, then basis the circumstances that had a complete change in paradigm and perspective, Rama had to go to the forest, which he beautifully, gracefully accepted, basis the instruction of his father. And when he was there, his younger brother Bharata comes to know the circumstances under which Rama had to go to the forest. So Rama is heading, Bharata is heading towards Rama to beseech, request Rama to come back and become the king and take over his rightful position. Bharata shows the great qualities of the personality that he is. So we see in the prior chapters, Bharata is trying various arguments to convince Rama that he has got to come back. But Rama is not budging an inch from his stance, which is also the dridata, yes, the fortitude to be able to stand, to take a stance and stick with it. It matters a lot. The famous example that we see of somebody digging a well. Yeah, you heard that before. Somebody was trying to dig a well in one space. So then one chap walked up and said, "Well, here, don't you see there's a rock just across the other side? There's no scope of you being able to go beyond the rock." So then he asked him where to go. He said, that seems to be a slopey zone. So the guy starts his next well digging. He goes 3 feet down, 5 feet down. Another person walks up and says, why didn't you see, only 30 feet from there, some other fellow, one little mound is there. One fellow tried digging a well, and then he buried it back. There is no scope of water here. And then a third space and a fourth space. If he had put all those efforts into one single well, he would have actually achieved what he had to achieve. In a similar manner, we take courses, we take businesses, we take professions, we take so many things up, but we don't get to see them through, and that's a very big problem. Bharata is showing his determination by not letting go of Rama so easily. He's giving argument after argument. He's engaging people different. He's engaging family. He's engaging sentiments. He's engaging his duty as a king. He's engaging the fact that Kaikeyi is already satisfied with what has happened. So who are you trying to please now? All those who wanted to please have all changed their mind. The one person who instructed you is no more here. What's the point? So after all this argumentation, the final thing that Bharata is firing a new volley, and that volley is called Jabali. I'm sorry, Jabali. Sounded similar. So Jabali is the name of the person. He is one of the courtesans, the court ministers. Courtesans sometimes can mean something else. The ministers in Dasharatha's court. So he comes about and gives arguments which look like they are completely leaning towards being atheism in many ways. So here we are hearing Rama's refutation to these arguments, and Rama coming to state clearly that what is the purpose of why Rama has come out here, what's the importance of Satya to the overall ethos of what's happening. That's what's coming out very clearly in this particular segment. And Bharata's eloquence was seen over the last few chapters. Phenomenally eloquent person, how well read, how beautifully he places different arguments there. Bharata is stating so many things, and finally he says, after doing all the other arguments, finally he comes to say that, okay, Rama, even if you're saying that this is my kingdom, it's been given to me, because it's my kingdom, I have the right to give it back to whoever I want. If he had stated that first, it would have sounded, mera hai, tu le le yaar. If that had been the first dialogue, it wouldn't have. But after trying all the rest, he is playing this as another card, showing the kind of humility that he is showing. So it's such a beautiful exchange. If there were two brothers to be, there can't be a a pair better than Rama and Bharata, the kind of love that they had for each other. So here we saw the initial points that Rama is making. The first comment that Rama makes is to say, you have spoken, it looks like, oh Jabali, you have spoken these words out of affection for me or affection for Bharata. But no intelligent person should take you seriously. Yes, but there's no change in face. There's no change in mood or temperament. It's not that he is showing anger, but he is going to be speaking very strong words in order to establish dharma. What is one of the purposes for which the Lord comes? Glanir abhyuttanam. Yes, to put it back. Therefore, to re-establish dharma is an important thing. So Lord's here doing that in a very beautiful manner by explaining why Jabali is wrong. So then he says, the words you have spoken, are to keep me happy but should not be taken. So we saw various arguments coming up with that. Now we are moving on with that. So the next point that's being made is quite interesting. And I want some discussion to come up on this. So let's get ready to contribute. Okay? न मर्यादस्तु पुरुषः पापाचार समन्वितः मानं न लभते सत्सु भिन्न चारित्र दर्शनः. So he is saying, what's happening here? न मर्यादस्तु, जो ये मर्यादा का पालन नहीं करता है. What is the maryada he is talking about? What is the riti that he is talking about? What are the practices he is talking about? He is talking about the Vedic practices here. When one is not ready to follow the Vedic practices properly, in Tamil, maryada means something else. Respect. But here maryada is more or less following the norms. It comes in that manner. So one who doesn't follow the norms of the Vedic scriptures, what is going to happen to him? Papachara samanvitaha. He is naturally going to gravitate towards papachara. Okay? Let's understand the gravity of this. This is very nice. Manam na labhate satsu bhinna charitra darshanaha. Manam na labhate satsu. The satjana who are there, the saintly, are not going to give him a person like this any credence, because his charitra, his activities and his life is bhinnaha, is very different from the Vedic prescription. And because of that, darshanaha, because the darshanas give a very different manner as to how one should lead his life. So nobody worth the salt is going to give you any credence. Yes, they are not going to give you any of this thing. Now, I read the translation. A man beyond the boundaries of Vedic behavior becomes involved in sinful activity. Now, that's a big statement. Yes, we had discussed atheism the previous time, and I had also touched upon this topic so many times. People come out saying that, half the fellows who even say the name of God, they're all dongi, rascals. Yes, either Asharam or Ram Rahim, or that's what pops out of these guys. All of these guys are like that. It's like a standard blanket all rascals mode. Yes, that's one perspective. And they say these are all papis, and because they are doing papa, they need the support. They are at least saying, oh, I've done so much negative. It's like feasting in Thailand for 3-4 days. Now I have to fast for 3-4 days to make up for it. So they swerve towards God because they swerve towards Kama, then they swerve towards Rama, then Kama and Rama. That's the way they're working. This is the normal logic. But then it's as if the corollary is true, every atheist would be an angel. Yes, if the corollary was true, every atheist, I do agree, there are exceptions in that zone also. There are wonderful people. They may be atheists, but they may be very, very nice human beings. That's a possibility also. But to label this in entirety or label that in entirety is simply unacceptable. But on the other hand, logically speaking, now this young man sitting here, you find him in a pub one day suddenly. This young man, right, Mr. Yeah, you suddenly find him in the pub one day. Let me assure you, he wouldn't try mischief like that in anywhere near this kind of zone or visibility, even if he wants to. Yes. But the kind of association that one has, that also inspires and brings out the best in one. And therefore, the chances that one gets in there is only becoming bleak. It's not that it is completely eradicated, but it only goes more and more bleak the more we hear about these higher concepts. And that's the point that's being made here. A man beyond the boundaries of Vedic behavior becomes involved in sinful activities. Yes, you wear you wear your Brahmin thread, you wear your tilak, you wear your kantimala, and suddenly you become funny. How is that going to be? You're going to get derided left, right, and center for that. Yes. Why would you want to proclaim yourself in this manner? This is not the kind of zone where we are sitting by which somebody is giving me some money. I'm living basis the fact that I'm speaking Ramayana or any of you because you're doing kirtan, because you're doing seva. It's not that we're not doing this for money. We're not doing for any. We want to own up to be just as the hippies want to be, or the freaks want to be painting their hair blue, or any of these. They want to own up to an image of being a freak. Yes, we want to own up to an image of being somebody who is devotionally oriented. That's why when a few days ago we had one devotee who came home, he didn't make it that day though, who saw this gentleman here, whose example I gave, sitting in the metro chanting his rounds. So immediately what happened? The person spoke to him and said, "Oh, Hare Krishna activities are going on here." So for everything, just as when somebody sees a cigarette pop out of a cigarette packet pop out of somebody's pocket, the cigarette smokers immediately build camaraderie and such friendship, and immediately they never knew each other, but they're like chum pals, thick pals. They walk out to have a smoke, or they say a lot of deals get finalized in the pub. Yes. And in a similar manner, for the devotees, a lot of things get finalized in the presence of the community of the devotees. And for that recognition, just as the pubbies, if I can call them, or the pubsters, I don't know what terms being used for that, but they may talk about and flout what they did. If you see, that's all these guys talk. I'm on a particular forum for my building. And the only thing is, every second day there's an alcohol joke, or that it's always around alcohol. That's it. And then there's old monk, and this is 1959 mix, and it's got this flavor. And all, what's happening with you guys? You are speaking about all of these things. So if we are devoted to spirituality, what stops us from speaking spirituality? Why is it that you can talk all your nonsense, which anyway is not good for your health, not good for the economy, not good for the ecology, not good for your spirituality, yes, or any of these aspects? It's a family breaker. Definitely alcohol is something that breaks relationships, yes, and it kills families. There are governments, unfortunately, who are encouraging stuff like this. I know for sure Tamil Nadu government has been doing this in a very dedicated manner. They are dedicated to ruining the lives of their citizens very effectively, and they are killing. There are kids who are in their 10th grades and the 11th grades who've gotten into issues like this, and it's a very difficult life to live. So when those people can flout and be happy about how they live their life, yes, and they can add more candidates to the Alcohol Anonymous Aspirants Club, yes, why not we when it comes to Krishna aspirants, people who are aspiring for spirituality? Therefore, all of us naturally take to some particular lifestyle, and we want to flout it. We want to be on Sheikh Zayed Road riding a bike, on 23rd of November or whatever. some particular day when the whole thing is blocked up and we're all, I think 4th December, something else is coming up. Huh? 2nd December. There's it, that's a run, come biking and all of that stuff. So there's nothing wrong. You live your lifestyle and you want to flout your lifestyle. We live our lifestyle, we want to flout our lifestyle. We are very happy. Our lifestyle leads us to a more sensible living in every way, whether it comes to family orientation, whether it comes to control of one's addictions, or living in a congruent society. We're going to see that come in next as a thread. So, what is your understanding in this regard? Do the spiritual tenets that we follow actually give us the right direction, and do they actually restrict us from unnecessary engagement in these activities? What's the general call and the view? Can I have some comments from everybody? How does it help? You've seen other devotees go through this. It's, and to have a battle with Maya is an everyday affair. It's not some, we're not some special category folks. Not Vishwamitra to send one Menaka. Every person on the street's a Menaka. Yes, it's a very big problem. So how do these rules and regulations of the Vedic Dharma that our Acharya has given, what do they mean to us? How do they help us? Can I have some comments, please?
Prabhuji, they give us direction and they keep us focused.
Wow, thank you for that. They definitely give us direction, keep us focused, no doubt. Actually, I don't think anybody has given us as much focus as Srila Prabhupada. Nobody had the kind of fervor to talk about going back home, back to God in this lifetime. Put that as on your trajectory, on your goals list. Ooh, no one ever spoke about stuff like that. So yes, that's a nice point there. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I think the conviction as to what is right, what is wrong, and to know where to look for answers if we have the doubt. So confidently, we can say no for some things and say, yes, what I'm doing is right. That clarity in thought.
Very nice point. I was reading something, it's a Harvard Business Review article. You know what? The more I read stuff like this, if I feel like I want to go back and look at what's happening in today's management world. And there's so much talk about it. You know what they say? An organization on the long run is more sustainable if it is ethically driven. They spoke about United Airlines. Okay, what United Airlines did was one passenger got thrown out of the flight, and it was a horrible mess. And somebody shot a video, and it was all over the space. Mr. CEO popped up and said, it was a passenger allocation issue, so we had to actually move him to a different flight, and he wasn't ready to accept it, some stuff like that. When the actual video came out and the rest of the reality came out, it was very clear that they were lying, he was lying through his teeth. Immediately they came back, they saw as an organization that this is not a sustainable direction to take. Yes, simply because you want the limelight off you, you give some kahani, but it doesn't hold. So then the CEO came out, retracted his statement, and he said this was our mistake, we should not have done this. What this did, before this retract happened, all over media, it was that people said we will not fly United anymore. This is how much ethics matter in reality, yes, in an organization. But personal ethics also matters. Who is going to deal with us? Right? Rama's grace. I don't think any of our classes, all this many years, have started beyond 2 minutes late or 3 minutes late. Am I right? And over this course of 4 or 5 years, we have had classes. I think once or twice, with the permission of people, 10 minutes. Yes, but that's our now. What to me, it's an ethic to be on time for a meeting. I I I really dislike being late. That's why today it looks like the traffic.
Prabhu, your voice is getting cut off. We're not able to hear you clearly.
Oh, voice. I'm sorry, I forgot the voice is different. Hare Krishna. Is that any better?
Yes.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yes,
fine.
Prabhuji.
Thank you. Kumarji.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, Kumar here, I want to add one point. Our Vedic gives a lot of space for dissent, even in spirituality. And that has made us very flexible and enabled the survival of this thought process over millennia. It has given us, like you mentioned, Jabali talking about atheism with Rama. It was not a space which said, okay, you cannot talk this, you cannot talk that. It allowed a space for the argumentative Indian to get all sorts of varying thoughts, even dissential thoughts, or even we might sometimes even treat as very extreme thoughts. But argumentation was the right method, not violence, to put across your point.
Very beautifully put. And I think what you're saying is very appropriate. Yes, it was encouraged, but it was also clearly clarified to show what's right and what is wrong. It's not that, okay, it's nice to have, good, that's your opinion, this is my opinion, we walk off. No, if you see, there's a bigger purpose. I have a quote from Desmond Tutu, the Nobel Prize winner. Yes, Bishop Desmond Tutu. And we're coming to some interesting sections there. When it comes to people working together, apart from the fact that we all have a leeway to swerve and live our way, our life, but the fact that we all share one common humanity, yes, and just as now I can't just remove this carpet because we are sitting on the same carpet, all of us. If it had been bigger, we are all sitting on the same carpet. We share this one carpet. Therefore, if we are not going to actually coordinate with each other, and if I'm not going to ask you for permission before I do that, if removing the carpet is not something that's favorable to all of us, then it's not going to help. So, on the long run, yes, dissent and differentiated opinion was definitely accepted, and I'll give you another example for that to substantiate what Kumar is talking about here. Kumar Prabhu is making this point. Now, when we were doing some study about Varnashrama and how it worked and all of that stuff, there's a book called The Beautiful Tree by a gentleman by name Dharampal. Dharampal was a follower of Gandhi. So he went to the UK and he was working with some of the archives there, and he picked up some really wonderful material that spoke about how the Gurukulas functioned in India. What happened was, first a report went out to the British Parliament that there were 300,000 Gurukulas in Bihar and Bengal. The Parliament came down. So, bugger, we sitting in England, we only have Sunday school along with the church. Baap Bible पढ़ रहा है, बच्चा अंग्रेजी पढ़ रहा है. This is all we are able to give. Only the blue-blooded, I don't know whether they actually have blue blood. We'll check them out. Only the blue-blooded have the opportunity to actually have a full-fledged education. And you're talking about 300,000 schools in India. There's something completely absurd about this number. So then I think Sir Thomas Munro, he instituted a study, and the results of the study came out very beautifully. They did an entire survey in different parts. One of the aspects that come out on that survey is they talk about going to Navadvip, which was a center of learning and was a center for Nyaya and Mimamsa. And you know what is the intake age for students in Navadvip? Can you take a guess? 3. Good one. Somebody else? Intake age for people, this is not school, huh? This is Nyaya, Mimamsa, Tarka, Vada. When you have mastered everything, then you get into stuff like, it's like PhD and beyond. So now take another guess. Somebody else?
14.
Most
14.
people 40 and 65. I'm not very sure about the 40, but the upper limit I'm definite about. There were people who were near 65s who came there to actually study at that particular level. And then the set of books that they studied were also listed. So then they talk about one Shankar Pandit who's there. Look at that. Look at the rich history that's there. Shankar Pandit, who's in Navadvip. And they say how the schools happen is every few days they'll have the chief, the head of the Gurukula, who is also referred to as Kulapati. And that's also a term that our Mayapur Gurukula uses for Vidyapurna Maharaj. So the Kulapati comes and he will sit in the middle, and all the students and others will come sit around him, and it's an open debate that is allowed in Nyaya, Mimamsa and Tarka zone. Kumarji, you have to make a note. When it comes to school, you are asked to speak only where necessary. But when it comes to, once you have gotten a level of learning, then they allow your intelligence to flower and for you to consider various pros and cons there, because you should be worth the while, yes. So Shankar, the rule in Navadvip or any of these patashalas of that level would be, when the debate is happening, so far as if the person who is the Kulapati, he loses his school, he's done. He's lost his reputation. He lost his school, he lost his reputation. That's how you should be. And that's how knowledgeable and capable of handling that situation you should be. Even if it is dissent, even if it is this thing, you know how to diffuse it, you know how to answer it, you know how to give the proper Shastric quotations for that. And by argumentation and logic, you will be able to pick that up and close it out. But do it gracefully. That's the first word that came here. When Rama was actually speaking to Jabali, it shows, it states that Rama didn't lose his composure one bit, and that's a fantastic quality to have. I have big trouble in that zone. If I'm happy, my face will show. If I'm sad, immediately my face will. If I'm angry, it'll all show. Yes, that is, and Rama, there is a title for Rama, the word that they use is Samvritakara, means बाहर से कुछ पहचान नहीं पाएगा व्यक्ति अंदर क्या चल रहा है. It's like always a smile, always beautiful. You can't shake that personality. So even in this situation later, I think Valmiki is describing, you speak about Rama's Samvritakaratva, and it's saying, yes, there we go. So, coming back to Shankar Pandit and this thing. So, this is what we see, and thank you, Kumar Prabhu, for bringing this point up. And this is what we see happening here. Any other comments before we close? With regard to rules and regulations, Vedic rules and regulations, Vedic norms. See, most people don't want to own up to anything. I believe in spirituality, I don't believe in religion. I also play along with that statement many times with people, just to encourage them. Yeah, we're not religious, we're spiritual. What is the meaning of the word religion? Religion is to put things back together. Ligament, legion. Religion is to put things back into one form and shape, to give it a congruent shape and this thing. उसके लिए रस्सी जैसे you need something that is going to bind, pull it all together and put it in place. Each part of the body is acting as a completely fragmented element. हाथ बोलता है मेरे को जो करना है मैं किधर भी करूंगा, तू इधर रह. You know, whatever leg is running in one direction, head is doing something. What wildness is this? You know, where is this going to be? So religion brings us back so that we become a congruent whole. Where we are able to perform. That's the beauty about religion. That's a very, very important word. And we don't understand. Why people want to push religion back. Okay, all this chanting is good. I like these things. Prasadam is great. 4 eggs. You never told me before I came. When I started coming for that, you didn't tell me these things. So this is a big problem because that regulation, the jiva is always wanting to be free of regulation. Yes. So that is the point that's coming out here very nicely. Anybody else? Any comments in this front?
I think just in line with what Anupriya Matri told, that within right and wrong, we also know what is our boundary, the limits, be it in any, suppose for example, just to deal with a person, what is the limit to talk to such a person and such a person. So Vedic, the Vedic way also teaches us the limits of everything.
Some of it is sort of innate in us. We don't speak to everybody in the same terms or deal with everybody in the same terms. Yes? Ladies more than men. I've said this multiple times. I know, people say, oh, don't judge. No, thank you. Yes? If a woman were to be told not to judge, you know what's going to happen. You have to judge. You have to naptol. When you meet, naturally you are measuring up. These are some, natural things. When you know this guy is going to get a chaku out of it. No, don't judge till he actually shows the chaku to you. Please don't judge him. Yes? Till he rapes the girl, you can't call him this thing. So, all this is, wild stuff that there are boundaries and borders that we should be. Our women have that natural antenna in them. And there are many times I deal with somebody, and then I say, okay, he's a great guy. My wife would tell me, I'm not comfortable with this person at all. I will not, I don't need to. That opens my eyes to a completely different paradigm. It's not that I write off the person immediately, but I know that I have to take it with a pinch of salt. That is all that we're going to do. We're not going about telling people, we're not going about crucifying that person for something like that, but we need to, this basic framework, the scriptures are giving us, yes, to say, okay, you deal, keep these boundaries, deal in this particular manner, yes. But it's the same scripture that says when it comes to an atiti, when it comes to a hungry person, there is no border, there is no limit. Yes, why did Sita go out of the line? Yes, because there was an atiti and he was saying he is hungry and he wants something to eat. He knew dharma and he misused dharma for his personal needs. On the other hand, Vibhishana knew dharma and he used dharma appropriately to manipulate Ravana. I think I've given this example. Anybody knows that? When Ravana was about to kill Hanuman, so at that time Vibhishana tells him, hey, Ravan, you're not the guy who will miss an opportunity for a good fight. Would you? You wouldn't. If this Hanuman is going to be killed here, who is going to ever tell him that Ravana is the guy who's got your wife? If you really want a good battle, let this guy go. So what he is doing there is he's using the, I would say, the sweet spot of Ravana. He's using that well, but not negatively. He's using that to bring about dharma. Yes, that is what a sajjan would do. A durjan will do the other way around. He'll use the sweet spot of this person to take advantage of the person and manipulate that person. So, I mean, these are interesting considerations, yes, to look at. So then, the next verse, we talk about only noble conduct makes a noble person. Yes. Charitrameva Vyakhyati Suchinam Va Yadi Va Suchim Yadi Va Asuchit. If a person is Suchi or Asuchi, clean in body, mind and activities, or he is unclean in these. Or Charitrameva Vyakhyati. Iska Vyakyan, what extols, what explains the person's activity and his charitrya is the only thing that is going to speak to tell us, is this person a rascal or this thing. So the verse, so what's the corollary? What is it disproving? It is disproving that kulinam, akulinam. Oh, I'm from royal family. I'm noble. I belong to a Brahmana family. अभी KFC में बैठा है, तू क्या बात कर रहा है? Yes, you say you're noble, but पैसे की लालच में अब अपना सारा देश को बेच देगा. Yes, I'm in the royal family, royal road to hell. You know, that's the kind of. So, kulinam akulinam va viram purushamanina. You can think I'm a big veera. Puff myself up. What you are, your charitrya, your life and your activities are going to show. So this is another beautiful point. The Rama is saying, simply by, if within my head I am thinking, is the door open by any chance? So kulinam akulinam va, whether you are kula, you belong to a good kula or not, whether you are a veera or a purushamanina, you think you are, whatever you think of yourself, it doesn't matter. What you do. What is that famous saying? Specifically about kids, they say, I can't hear what you say because what you do screams in my ears. So true, yes? भाषण देते रहो, पर तू जो करता है भाई, वो तेरे को देखेगा, अंदर सोचेगा, तू बोल रहा है मेरे को, ठीक है. मैं जानता हूँ तू क्या है. Maybe boss, you can't say anything, but just ठीक है, चल. Yes. So Rama is saying, simply because I belong to a royal family, yes, nobody is going to give me credence. My charitrya. Why we are speaking about Rama today is because he didn't take Jabali's advice. Thanks to all the argumentation and the refutation. But he didn't take Rama's advice. He discerned out of that very clearly and put that in place. Once conduct reveals himself, whether he is from a noble family or not, whether he is a hero or imagines himself to be manly, and whether he is pure or impure. So that's the next verse there. Then this is another beautiful, this brings out the whole concept. So I think we'll spend another half an hour on this. We are progressing very slowly, but I think this chapter and these chapters are going to be very needing a lot of understanding. I am not able to progress any faster on this because I am having to do a lot of research on these, and there's, I think, substance enough to actually dwell on these. So the Vedic Dharma is means of auspiciousness. Go back to our own lives, and if we are able to think of what our lives were before we got into Krishna consciousness, yes, where was it as a state, yes, state of living and existence, and where is it today? Would you agree that following the Vedic tenets naturally brings about auspiciousness to oneself? Yes, it's a very clear statement. Yes, Prabhu Mataji, yes, from where we were before Krishna consciousness to where we are, it need not be that we were Ravanas, but there was no, there was no juice in living. There was no purpose. There was no goal. We don't need to be complete rascals. It's not necessary. But life didn't have substance. Yes, and all of these. So the first statement, Vedic Dharma is the means of auspiciousness. If I am uncivilized, devoid of purity, without auspicious characteristics of bad character, but I portray myself as being civilized. Latest dress, nice shoes, excellent perfume. You can smell the guy half a kilometer away. Yes, all that sounds good. And consider the adharma spoken by you. What use of it is it to the world? If I'm going to be living like that without character. Now, what is Rama attacking here? Is the first point that Jabali attacked was he was saying this whole Vedic thing is all a farce. Live life king size. Rinam krutva gritam pibet. You beg, borrow, steal, but live a big life. So that was the concept Jabali was saying. What rebirth, what Satya, Dharma, Nyaya, where all these Vedic concepts and all came from. All this means nothing. Your father is gone. We don't even know where he is at this point in time. You are here in this life. You are entitled to this. Why are you suffering? You are not meant to suffer. Go enjoy yourself. So he wrote off the entire Vedic system. So here Rama is coming in defense of the Vedic system, Sanatana Dharma and the Varnashrama Dharma along with that. So the next point he is making is that which creates Varna Sankara population and which is devoid of Vedic performances and regulations cannot be Dharma. Yes? Because one of the important things that he wrote off was, anybody? What did Jabali write off earlier? Specifically, what we did to our forefathers had been written off in completeness. He questioned to ask. Jabali was saying, oh, you're doing all this pinda offerings that you're doing for your forefathers. If only you give somebody eats pinda here, somebody else is satisfied. Then he says, travelers don't need to take food at all. This is the argument. This is the argument Jabali is giving. Travelers, then why you are carrying food now? When they travel, you feed somebody else, they will be fed. Does it happen in this world? So why it will happen in the beyond this world? What is not viable in this world? You see, aaj ki tark hai. It's not very different from how people argue and debate with us at this point in time. So he gave all these arguments and he basically wrote off the Lupta Pinda Udaka Kriya. Yes? The Pinda Udaka Kriya, which Arjuna is afraid that it should not become Lupta. It shouldn't become degraded. It shouldn't be lost. So he had completely written off that segment. So he says, without these performances and these regulations, it cannot be Dharma. Yes, there will be no Dharma. The man of knowledge who can discriminate between what should be done and what should not be done will not honor me. If I am going to behave in this manner, I will not be respected. Now, I'll come to that point. The point is, we are all thinking only from our shoes. Yes? And in most cases, we have only one role that we have in our mind. How can I be happy? That's the only role in our mind. Thoda magnanimous, little more magnanimous person than usi ghar mein jo log hai, how they can also be at least a little happy. Like that. Arrangement. बाकी जो है वो किसका क्या हुआ मेरे को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I don't care at all. If one is going to live that kind of a life, you can never survive. This is dog eat dog world. I want everything. I don't care what happens. If it looks like Simran is going to be appreciated for her kirtan, then Jayashree will add some poison in her food. Sorry, bad joke. But to say that this kind of, one-upmanship, what is in it for me? How am I going to progress? And if that's the only focus that you're going to have, you will have a completely screwed up society. It's going to be a very, very a difficult society. We saw during the COVID zone also, there were some people who right in the beginning and even to the fag end didn't want to get vaccinated. Yes, they say it's my right to be, it's my right to die. Okay, die. Please die early before you infect a few more people. At least be kind enough. Yes, but there are people like that. But now what's happening is all the governments have come to the level. All organizations, initially organizations were afraid whether they can regulate that you have to be vaccinated, otherwise don't come to the office. Yes, now organizations have gone out and said, Kalivali, we have to be sustainable, we are a business and we need to be able to do business. So that's it. But civil rights and liberty, people have a right to commit suicide, kill themselves. Then please do it safely where you are. Don't disturb others. Yes. So those aspects we need to be able to understand, that whose conduct will be evil and who will spoil the world. Rama is saying here that it should not be done. It should not be done. One is the world will dishonor me, but on the other hand, if I take to this kind of a conduct, it will result in evil and it will spoil the world. Yes. How many of you have heard the story which we must have learnt as kids? A stupid British tale that came to along with our nursery rhymes like Baba Black Sheep and Humpty Dumpty. All of this is right out of, this place. One other story was the king's dress or something like that. The king's apparel, the king's dress. I don't know whether you guys ever heard it, but I've heard that.
The emperor's clothes.
Emperor's clothes. You heard of that? Yeah? Anybody here? The emperor came out one day and everybody was appreciating the emperor's clothing. Because they had already spread the rumor that emperor is wearing something that's so special, the fools will not be able to see, only the intelligent, great people can see. So nobody wants to show themselves as a fool in the world. No, every guy is saying, oh, what a dress, what a super dress. One little kid was standing there. And the kid said, oh, the emperor is wearing nothing. Yeah, because the emperor was a fool himself. He had bought in first. So, when the guy said, oh, you look at, this place, the cut, how beautiful, nice shape, the suits and all that stuff. Perfect. Emperor is looking. I can't see anything, but I can't show to these tailors that I can't see anything. They'll understand I'm a fool. So everybody from there, right from the beginning, tone set at the top, the bugger was walking nude. Yes. And there's one kid who walked up and said, the emperor is naked. And then what happened? Everybody woke up to the reality. Sometimes it requires that first person to actually, say the truth and things go, the rest of them get a wake-up call along with that. The reverse is also true. Sometimes you see there's one person in a class who's rogue and the rest of the people also think, oh, he's like this, he's done this, he's done that. Then the others think, oh, why not? I don't know, what's a big thing? Kuch bada nahi hua. He's chilling, having fun. And it goes on, yes? So, it always takes one outlier and the others could easily gravitate in that direction. So, Rama is saying, that's what I don't want to become. Yes? So, the point I was making is, we think only in our role as to what we want for ourselves. But Rama cannot think. Jabali easily advice deke chala jayega. When you're king, you need to manage people. Anybody who's managed teams at work definitely knows that unless you are, you are seeing to it that you know the business, you have your act together, you know how to deal with people, you know how to get things done. If all these things are there, बाहर से कोई भी बोलते हो ये करना वो करना कुछ भी why don't you do like this? It's very easy to state things like that. When you are in the hot seat, then you will understand what it is. So Jabali is giving advice, but Rama knows that if I am going to set the example, where I don't follow the vow that I have taken. I don't follow the Satya which was so sacrosanct to my family. Yes? Pran jai par vachan na jai. If that much his speciality has been given to Satya in our family, now if I'm going to transgress that particular thing, after this, if some fellow comes and tells me, a subordinate comes and tells me, I will give you this tomorrow at 12 o'clock, what will you go ask him? Why you didn't do? Why you also changed your word, I'm changing my word. 12 o'clock tomorrow, 12 o'clock, not today, 12 o'clock, tomorrow, jao. Yes, you show that you complete things on time. You are sticking to your words. Your behavior is going to be yadyadacharati shreshtas tatya devetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanu vartate. How the Sreshta is showing by his example, the rest of them are going to follow. So Rama is able to think because he comes from a family of kings. Yes. So the greatness of Rama is the fact that because of being truly from somebody from that background, he is able to understand that I will not get the buy-in from my own people if I am not going to go through this ordeal and stick. This was my father's instruction. I have to follow. If you don't follow father's instruction, then you will not follow king's instruction. Yes? If the king himself didn't follow father's instruction, why follow father's instruction? Why follow king's? Both instructions are gone down the drain. Yes? So, how is societal intercourse going to happen? It simply won't happen. All the polarities within society, all the negatives will come up, the positives would not work. So, following this conduct with no consideration of my promise to reside in the forest, whom shall I instruct to follow this conduct? Whom will I give instructions to? Kasya dasyami aham vrittam kenava swargam apnuyam. Yes. How vrittam, when it comes to getting things done, yes, what is going to happen? Kenava. My vritti, my conduct, what I am doing, how I make things happen is what others are going to be. So this is exactly the Advaita Chariti mode coming from that particular verse. The next one here, then he says, what is the risk of what will happen? Har ek aadmi apna manmani karega. So then who is going to leash anybody? Yes, I don't want to be leashed by my father's words. My people are not going to be, they're going to behave exactly the same way. Kama vrittastu ayam lokaha. This loka is going to become only single-centric, what I desire to do. Now, this is the rugged individuality. Today, in the management terms, there's a lot that's spoken about tribal leadership. Anybody heard this ever? There are books on tribal leadership, and there are multiple books that are coming up. But we thought tribes were bad. Pichadapan, very primitive. Tribes are coming from a very primitive zone. So if you see all these guys trace from the Paleolithic age, as if he was only combing somebody's hair in that first ape which became the man, he was only hairdressing him at that point in time. So they will quote time and they will quote all this. So the Paleot, when the man was in the caves, running behind the animals with, and all that stuff. And then we'll come and say, suddenly from that time, so first they say man was completely individualistic, which means he's got a reptilian brain. And then all he wants is food, sex, and his personal safety. He'd do anything for these things. And then, when man became a little civilized, then he came together and formed groups. These groups were the leader of the group is, yes, we'll do anything for him. We are a group. Anybody else comes into the group, we'll kill them. So they bought out all the negatives on that. That's called a tribal mentality. And then comes the modern man who will kill anybody to make little extra money. who will do anything. That's how they depicted this progression. They didn't depict modern man this way. They depicted modern man as the aesthetic, the what, the global citizen. Now I am no more Indian, I'm global citizen. पहले एक कंट्री को लूट रहा था, अभी सभी कंट्री को लूटेगा. ग्लोबल सिटीजन. यू गो, you will buy land in Africa and you'll completely finish everything that is there. And global businesses, we are multinationals. Yes, that's what, there's no limit drawn to the greed at all. It's just gone. So what they are seeing is, when an organization comes to be Facebook, what they are facing right now, facing Facebook, yes, for all the crap that they've been up to, they're facing it at this point in time because they are lying in court. Yes, or in Congress, they've been lying to things. This is coming out very clearly. Most of the American presidents have been rather useless, lucha, lafanga, pura list to वही है. At least I'm proud. India as a nation, we have not had any such characters to be as wild as what these guys have had in the name of. So when you have cases like this, when they are the examples. What are you going? I was coming to say something else. I skipped a beat on this. The tribal leadership. Now they're going back to tribal zone. Why are they talking about tribal leadership? Because tribes were close knit. Tribes, in a tribe, people cared for each other. What are we? We are Prabhupada's tribe, no? Yes? We care for each other. We have time that we spend for each other. Yes? The youth, there are so many things the youth do for me. There's so many things we do for the youth. This is caring and sharing. Yes? And we are working together we are not related. One Tamil wala and all half Sindhi science sitting out there. I don't know what. So what brings us together? So this, therefore, is being referred to as tribal leadership. In tribal leadership, what are you going to do? You're going to care for the others who are part of the team. And this is a very, very important thing. So the entire world will start doing whatever they like, and the citizens behave the way their kings behave. So if I start to behave like this without thinking what's good for everybody, what's good for the nation, I'm going to ruin the whole thing. So then he says, pervading truthfulness. That's the title I gave to this verse. Satyameva Anushamsam cha Raja Vrittam Sanatanam. For the king, there are two duties. Rama says there are two duties for a king. One is Satyameva, to always uphold Satya. If he told something will happen, look at the beauty of what, as a nation, where we are here in the UAE, what they have done. It looked like 2020 had lost its dum. Yes? But to come, put it on the map and resurrect it and put it there, it shows resilience. Yes? It gives the kind of everybody, chati fad ke khada ho jata hai. All the business guys, now, if you are a businessman, if you want to succeed in life, if you are in a space like this where this mood of achieving things bigger than one can think ever is there, and in this place, if we don't achieve, good luck to achieving it anywhere else. Yes, because the whole ethos is rift with this, the whole mood is set up in that. So it's important for a king to be able to think in that direction, and that's why Rama is saying it's very, very important that we set the right example. Pervading truthfulness. So he's saying Satyameva Anrishamsam. First is, if I give a word that this will happen, this will happen. Yes, that's very important for a king. The second is Anrishamsam, means not to be overly cruel, to be kind and compassionate. It's a very important one. The eternal conduct of kings is truthfulness filled with compassion. Therefore, the kingdom becomes filled with truthfulness and people become established in truthfulness. The whole court kacheri scene that you are seeing, why are you seeing this? In very traditional times, people would go to discuss a particular thing, saying इसने ऐसे कर दिया, ये गलत है, ये ठीक है, sort it out. This is there in Rama's times also. Yeah. But it was not there that somebody would go and say, मैंने तो किया ही नहीं, और दूसरा बोलता है उसने किया. This was not the debate. Because the society was established in Satya, this was not the debate. You can have a difference of opinion. Is this the right thing to do? Kim karmeti, kima karmeti, kavayo pyatra mohita. Even Brahma doesn't know what is the right thing, what is not the right thing. Because it's such a complex setup. Yes? So when you go to the king, people used to go for judgment to kings to ask if this is right or wrong. Not if he is lying against this person's word, against that person's word. Yes, because people would speak Satya. If somebody did wrong, they'd come and say, yes, I did it. Please give me the necessary punishment for that. How many cases we've seen? Why is Satya, in the same race, Raja Harishchandra was there. He knew everything that was happening, that Vishwamitra was doing completely against him. If he just had to say, no, Vishwamitra was pushing him just say, I never gave a one word. Just say one thing. Once. Then later, in the last, Vishwamitra is asking, forget you, he's asking Taramati. She is also known as Chandramati in some spaces. So he's asking her, you tell, I'll take it as if he told. She's not ready to open her mouth. He asks that 4-year-old child, and that child says, Satya is our dharma. Yes? So I think we should, if we are not, this Satya was just hitting me again and again and again. Rama just shows how much it is life to lie for small things, to try to position ourselves a little better, whether it be small or big, to lie. The eternal conduct of kings is truthfulness filled with compassion. Therefore, the kingdom becomes filled with truthfulness and people become established in truthfulness. Okay, bhaiya. So then the next verse says, what is the highest principle? So Rama is saying, Rishayas-chaiva devas-cha. Okay, you think it's me? It's not just me. It's all the rishis. It's all the devas. Satyameva hi menire. Menire means mante hain. Whether it is the rishis or the devas, all of them agree to this one fact that Satya is the basis of everything. Satyavadi hi lokesmin paramam gacchati kshayam. The sages and the devas, in this world, one who speaks the truth attains the highest abode. Forget attaining highest abode somewhere else when he goes to Swarga or something like that. Then he says, truthfulness is the controller of this world. Satyam eveshwaro loke. For this, when it comes to this world, it is that one thing which is Satya, which is controlling everything. Where there is truth. Read about the Tatas. It seems Tata and Sons, that company, 2/3 of that company, all the profits go only for social causes. 2/3 of the company. And the Tatas own like a smaller segment of the company, but they've been running from JR, the original Tatas who established it to date. And they have shown Tata, JRD Tata speaks, Ratan Tata speaks on ethical values and how ethical organizations should be run. They have the right to speak because they have lived that lifestyle. He is one of the richest guys and he has remained a bachelor all his life. You see Modi remained a bachelor all his life. And you compare him to Clinton and this Trump sitting across the other side. What respect should be there? Or you compare to Papu across the other side. I'm not being political, but if Modi does something stupid, I speak about that just as much. But I respect these values that a person is showing, and it should be respected. You're not working for your family, you're working for the nation. You have no other agenda. There's a 100-year-old mummy sitting somewhere, and she's on her own, and he has to do what he has to do. I really appreciate that as a this thing. I see that somebody is dedicated to ruling the kingdom, if I may say that. It's very controversial. Ruling the kingdom. Hare Krishna. Satya Mulani Sarvani. Satya is the moola of everything, is the root of everything. Satyam Nasti Param Padam. This is Rama's words. Yes, and Srimad Valmiki Ramayana is none other, is just another form of the Vedas. So this is Vedic truth that we're getting from there. Satya is such an important thing. There are people who go and tell people, oh, you chant Hare Krishna mantra, then you will get job. Rama, it's going to, I don't know, give you a slap for that. Look at you like this. Stupid guy, what are you up to? Why do you do this? We don't need to preach in this manner. Yes? Why falsify something? No, you will get sukha and dukkha. But what is more important is that you will please the Lord. You're calling at the Supreme Personality. That's the purpose of why we are chanting, not for these small trinkets. Yes? That's not what we are supposed. So even in preaching, how we do what we do. Yes?
So I think regarding the wrong context, if you could clear it for me, I heard from you only once that rather than going and asking anyone else, it's okay if they ask the Lord for it.
Of course.
So how do you understand that in the context of chanting Hare Krishna in the name?
Okay. When it is presented in this manner, that's great. But if you present that the only purpose for which you want to draw somebody in, okay, तुम बोलता है किसी को काम नहीं है, so you tell him that you come here, you chant 16 rounds for 1 month, you will definitely get a job. After 3 months, the guy doesn't get a job. What's going to happen? Yes, you're going to distort the faith of the person. वो पूरा जन्म वापस नहीं आएगा, ये said. Yes. So how we depict, what we depict, we are not here to make. So even in small things, misdepiction is something that we should be very careful about. It happens in different layers, in different ways. It happens when it comes to how we promote some of the gurus sometimes. It happens with regard to how some people promote themselves. Yes, Prabhu, you come, don't worry. Now you are under my care. For everything, before you look left, right, you have to ask me. Okay. Everything I will tell you. Which direction you should urinate. All instructions will come from me. I will monitor, manage your life iota by iota. I don't know. These are some control freaks who are trying to. So there are different people who try to distort for their this thing sometimes innocently also, like this job kind of preaching is sometimes just over enthusiasm and innocently. But is this in the right spirit? Is this going to sustain? You'll see one more. 9-4? Why don't you tell me? Hare Krishna. I'm going to take a couple more minutes to close. I seek everybody's permission for that. Can we? 9:10 we'll wrap, so that it comes to a logical conclusion. I've gone on a rampage on this particular today, but we need to sort of close out on truthfulness. Then, Udvijate yata sarpam nara anritavadinaha. If somebody is anritavadi, now, is this how we should behave, or is this how people in Ayodhya were behaving? I think both of them will be the same. But if they see a person who is speaking untruth, they are frightened as if they saw a snake. Sarpan, Narad, Anritavadinaha, one who speaks untruth. We should be very careful with people who speak untruth. It can be in small things, it can be in big things. It starts with small and becomes very easy to go to the big ones. Yes. So truth, to stick to the truth, Rama is beating on this point again and again. Perception about untruthfulness. People become agitated upon encountering a man who speaks untruth as if he is a snake. And it is said that dharma, in which truthfulness is supreme, is the root of all benefit in this world. Then he says, Dattam, Ishtam, Hutam, Chaiva, Taptani cha, Tapamsi cha, whether it is dana that you give or Ishtam here refers to worship of Ishta Devata, or Hutam, Yajna that you are performing, or you are doing any sort of tapascharya. All of these, ultimately you will see there is a thread going back to truth. And what is he referring to truth? You will see in the next verse that's coming up to us. The next, right here. Vedaha Satya Pratishthanaha Tasmat Satya Paro Bhavet. Satya is the ultimate. And Veda itself is establishing Satya in this manner. Charity, worship, sacrifice, austerities that one performs. And the Vedas teach are founded on truthfulness. Therefore, one should become fixed on truthfulness. So the point is, Veda, what is the meaning of the word Veda? I've known ladies in traditional families to have the name Veda in the south. Very rare today, yes? It's a beautiful name. What is the meaning of Veda? Knowledge. With Veda. With one. One who has knowledge is a scholar. So Veda itself means knowledge or information. And if that information is wrong, then it's Facebook. Yes. If the information is correct, then it is Satya. Yes. Then that is reality and that is truth. Today you see the half of internet is just rift with crap. Yes. You do this. This is good for health. Don't consume oils at all. Don't cut out on this. We are not supposed to be milk drinkers at all. There's a full list coming out like that. Half of this is misinformation. So people thrive on misinformation. I know many magazines. Mostly you find some fellow who just popped out of college, and you give him a task that you don't come up with one article within this many days, you're finished. And then if the guy gets better, then you give him a target. If you don't get something that's going to make a big splash, you're finished. So the guy looks in the garbage bin for all sorts of bakwas, and then he is writing. So the fact is there is no truth in it. So dunya ka information jo hai, it has no truth in it. But Veda is true knowledge, which is eternal knowledge coming from the Lord. Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sat is eternal. Sat is also Satya. What is eternal is also true, because it's not going to change. Truth is unchanging. So that Satya is nothing other than the Vedic truth. Is what the thread that is holding the Vedic truth is the fact that it is Vedic and it is truth. Yes, and they're like synonyms to each other. They are coexisting there. One can speak of untruth intentionally or unintentionally, but there is no untruth of either type in the Vedas. True means in accordance with fact or reality, and untrue is its opposite. The Bhagavatam, Satyam Param Dhimahi, the very first segment in the Bhagavatam, we are seeing that the Bhagavatam is being referred to as Satyam Param. This is the Param. Satya Param Trisatyam. There is that Satyam, Satyasya Satyam Nihitam Guhaya. This is the Upanishad. So you will see Satya being constantly being reiterated. So Satya is something that's very, very, very important to us. Prabhupada gives this in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, chapter 140. Veda pranihito dharmo. What is dharma? What? That which is stated by Veda. He adharmas tad viparyaya. Anything that is opposite to that is adharma. That is what Rama is telling Jabali here. This is given in Veda. What you are saying is opposite to that. So thank you. No thank you rather. Yes, he is telling him that. Vedo Narayana Saksha. This Veda is coming from Narayana himself. And Swayambhu iti sushruma. Then Prabhupada gives the shloka translation, says that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, religious principles, and the opposite is the religion. Vedas are directly enunciated by Supreme Personality Narayana and are self-born. The Vedas are the Supreme Personality, Narayana, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. So in that, Prabhupada in the purport saying, Dharma is not actually manufactured by Narayana. Look at the, he's saying Dharma is not manufactured by Narayana. As stated in the Vedas, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Nishvasitam Etad Yad Rigvedaha. The injunction of Dharma emanates from the breathing of Narayana, the supreme living entity. Narayana exists eternally, breathes eternally, and therefore Veda exists eternally. So, they are concomitant factors. This is a very beautiful aspect. The next, Madhvacharya, there are some explanations in the same context. Madhvacharya says, therefore, he refers to the Vedas as Apaurushaya. Kisi Purush se banaye. Sahasra Sirsha Purusha. Purusha refers to him. But when you say Apaurushaya, even that Purusha did not create because it's concomitant to him. Just as he is truth, the Veda is also truth. You understand? What big a concept truth is, it's coming out in this particular chapter in a very beautiful manner. So he's saying it is unauthored. It is the only set of books coexisting with its eternal author. See how beautifully put. The author is eternal. The book is eternal. They both coexist, and they are therefore both knowledge, and they are therefore both the truth. Just as the sun rays come from the sun, but they are inseparable. There was no time when the sun existed without its sun rays, and there was no time that the sun existed after which it started emanating its sun rays. They are one and the same factor. This sort of holds good even from today's perspective. Yes. The Lord and his Vedas are co-eternal. Just as he is uncreated, his eternal breathing in the form of the Vedas is uncreated, and this is his eternal message to the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna. I will close with this to abide by time, but this is a very, very beautiful topic. There's a lot of depth in it. There are some quotes from Jiva Goswami and a few other things for us to be able to understand this a little better. It looks like this chapter is going to take us a few more sittings. So thank you very much. Any questions, comments before we wrap?
Prabhuji, Kumar here.
Yes, sir.
Truth is, my truth is not your truth. Is that valid?
There is circumstantial validity to it. iPhone is costly for me because I'm only earning 2,000 dirhams a month. iPhone is not costly for you, but the price of the iPhone is the same thing. That is truth. But circumstantially, it may. But that is, basis our circumstance, sometimes we may perceive these things. iPhone is one of the best instruments in the world, remains a truth whether it is for you or me. Our affordability may be a different thing in different ways. Yes. But when it comes to the truth, the kind of truth that we are talking about is to say that dukkha lema shashvatam. We say that the jiva is going through these four sufferings in this material world. That's an eternal truth. It doesn't matter whether you are the king of the nation or you are the pauper sitting in the corner of the street begging for money. That's an eternal truth for everybody. So don't bring truth down to debate whether Chinese products are good or not. Those things can have a right and a wrong within the very nuances of small aspects. But when we talk about truth, Satyam Param Dhimahi, when we talk about eternal truth, we are talking about things that don't move, things that don't change, things that always remain. It's like if you're not going to keep your wife happy, your life is miserable. That's an eternal truth. That Lord Shiva, Narayana, everybody is seeing today also. Kumar, you agree with me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You can't perceive it differently, can you? So I think that's a good enough argument. We'll close with that. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Let's all mic on for one Jai Gosha together. Everybody. Mic on. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki
Jai